Hello and welcome to the Upside Learning webinar on making your learning mobile enabled. Stories from the trench. We've got a very exciting topic and a very exciting panel to speak to. I'm just going to walk you through just a little bit about Upside Learning. But before I do that, if you can hear me, can you just raise your hands, please? Just using the indicator. Oh, fantastic, Peter. That's fantastic. So we've got some participants online, including Joe and Peter from CSIRO and Marlo from SM10 in Philippines. So welcome everyone and others. And that's good to see that you can hear us. So just in terms of the company Upside Learning, we've been in business for 10 years now. We recently celebrated our 10th birthday. Our headquarters is in India with offices in US, UK, and Australia. The customers that we service are across the globe. Bulk of our business comes from UK and US, and business starting to come from Australia now. We also have clients in Singapore and recently 2 clients in Thailand. So I guess the message from this slide really is that we have been working with global customers across the world for the past 10 years, and we've got our processes and also our our capabilities fine-tuned to delivering projects on time. And also in terms of our own learning solutions, we essentially play in the learning technologies space. And what we've got here is what we've got here is essentially our 2 learning management platforms, which is Upside to Go, and also Upside to Go, which is a mobile learning performance support platform, and Upside LMS, which is our learning management system. In addition to that, we develop a lot of custom online courses for customers all around the globe. You can see some screenshot of one of the courses that we've developed. And we also have a portfolio of catalog courses, but we also develop courses for the mobile space. So I guess in terms of our own expertise, where we're particularly strong is in the development of online learning, moving into the mobile HTML world, where the learning chunks are smaller and allow performance support. And we're going to talk about Upside to Go a little bit more in detail. Along the 10 years, we've picked up some awards. The most recent one is the e-learning Team of the Year 2013 award, which we picked up in the UK. But in terms of our own Brandon Hall awards, we've won multiple awards across multiple years. And awards from Chief Learning Officer and trainingindustry.com. We've also been recognized as a company for being innovative and growing fast in the space of learning technologies. So we do have a team of 200 people who are based mostly in India, from where we service the world. So we kind of look forward to working with you. Now, I'm going to introduce the panel. I'm going to first introduce Dean. Dean is a Managing Director of Antidote Marketing Private Limited in Sydney. Dean has about 20 years of healthcare marketing experience and has developed a lot of solutions for mobile learning, learning across tablets, performance support, especially in the healthcare industry. So Dean, welcome to the panel.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Looking forward to hearing your case studies. We also have Ujjwal, whose photograph you can see on the screen. Ujjwal, that's a nice photograph, by the way, so well done. I'll have to do something about mine. Ujjwal is a product manager of Upside to Go, which is our mobile learning performance support application. Ujjwal is basically the brains behind the product, and he's got 9 years plus of software services and customer interaction. And he's got a degree in computer computer engineering, and he's a technology enthusiast. My name is Jeevan Joshi. I look after business for Upside Learning in Asia Pacific across Australia. I'm based in Sydney, and I've got over 20 years of experience delivering technology-enabled workforce and business productivity solutions, including HR systems, e-learning, strategic consulting in HR, etc. So we look forward to this very experienced panel that we've got here. Okay, so before we begin, I guess just want to kind of have a slide on how we may be able to help you if you've got any requirements around performance management and mobile learning. So I do see some familiar faces in the participants list, including Alistair from Kiwibank in New Zealand, and also Marg and Peter Kennedy, obviously from CSRO. So, look, a very informal session. Please feel free to send us any chat messages, etc. to us. We'll be very happy to take your questions anytime during the presentation. We also will have 5 minutes at the end if you've got questions then. But let's look at how we can help you with mobile learning and performance support. First of all, with partners like Dean, who've got tremendous amount of experience in terms of laying the foundation for mobile learning and performance support, especially for the mobile workforce, sales, retail, etc. We can provide you advice around the needs analysis and design and planning. And as you will see in our latest slides, that laying a strong foundation which is optimized for your organization and your learners is very critical in getting it right. In terms of the platform itself, we will be talking about our Upside to Go platform. Ujjwal will be talking about some case studies on Upside to Go, where the deployment of the platform along with the content on it has brought some great business results for customers, where the audiences and learners have been difficult to reach. So it's been a success there. Of course, the platform does need content that it needs to deliver. So learning courses, performance support videos, flashcards, quizzes, assessment, etc. Now those can be those can be packaged into a course which can be placed on not only our platform but any platform. And we've got lots of experience in designing HTML and responsive courses, essentially the same courses that can run over PCs, tablets, smartphones without any issues. We now support all the 4 major operating systems on mobile, Android, iOS, BlackBerry, and coming soon Windows 8. So we will also talk a little bit about that. But the other thing that we just need to be aware of is testing. So when you can imagine when you've got online systems and content which can be played across various operating systems, various screen sizes, etc., the amount of testing also increases. So we do provide testing services for customers who want to test their online courses. It really doesn't matter whether we build it or somebody else builds it. We will take that content. We've got a content testing lab with all the infrastructure and specialists, and they will run your course through. They'll test the course and come back with a health report for the course with suggested improvements. So those are the services between Dean and ourselves that we provide, and we work very closely with Dean in terms of getting solutions across to organizations, especially healthcare. And we are aware, though, that across while mobile might be a very exciting space to be in, it does require strong foundations, as I've mentioned earlier, which comprise of technical reliability, need to be cost effective, and also need to be innovative, because mobile platforms and technologies and the need for the business requirements keep changing very frequently. So certainly within most of the work that we've done, and certainly the case studies that Dean and Ujjwal will be sharing with you, the business outcome is something that is at the center of whatever we design and develop. So moving on to the next slide, and before I do that, I might actually just shoot a poll to all of you about mobile learning. So you can see very soon on your screen a poll. So if you can respond to that poll, that will be fantastic. Which of these is true for your organizations? So if you can respond to that, that'll be great while I change slides. Okay, so we've got some responses coming through, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to close and I'm going to share that with you. And Yep. So 75% have of the participants have no immediate plans to implement mobile, which is quite interesting. Because what we've discovered is that a lot of the times when your traditional online learning platforms and content are not ready or cannot deliver the business outcome, mobile learning is quite an easy way of delivering those outcomes. So hopefully after this session you might change your mind, because it's not something in addition to your existing learning infrastructure. It's actually something that supplements. So for example, our Upside to Go system, which I'll talk about very soon, actually on the next slide, can work in tandem with your existing learning infrastructure to deliver mobile learning. So it can sync with mobile learning. So you see on the screen our Upside to Go, which is a platform that sits as an app on smartphones and tablets. You can download from Google Play or from the Apple Store, and then it connects to the server to download content. The good thing about this application is that once you've downloaded the content, you really don't need to be connected. So you could download the content while you're in office and do it while you are on the road and don't have internet connectivity, even in places where mobile reception is very weak. In terms of the content I mentioned, we make responsive content. So you can see on the screen is basically the same course, same screen, but it appears in 3 different formats according to the device that it is accessed in. So the course census, which device you're accessing the course from, and then it optimizes the screen and the content. So you can see between the PC and the smartphone has kind of got rid of all the smartphone screen has got rid of all the images, and it's got the critical information that's available on the smartphone. So it's a great performance support tool. So it's basically the same course we haven't, which optimizes across the 3. And of course, we also build learning apps for tabs, and Dean will also talk about some of the work that Dean's done, and obviously for videos for smartphones, etc. So all little performance tools that we can build for you. And talked about testing. This screen depicts the complexity in testing, just in terms of the different operating system, different browsers, different screen sizes, functionality, usability, compliance, and performance. So we provide that service. So I think that's pretty much about how we can help you. Let's get on to the core of our presentation today. And what we're going to do is run a couple of slides about the rise of mobile delivery, but I very quickly want to pass on the mic to first Dean and followed by Ujjwal to talk about their case studies. While we're doing that, I'm actually going to shoot another poll. What are the key reasons for implementing mobile learning for you? So if you can, whether you're planning or not, but if you do plan to do, what would be the reason? So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons there. If you could respond to that poll, that'll be fantastic. So while the poll is in the process, let's talk about the rise of mobile learning and performance support. And we've started to see some responses come through. I'll just wait for just 1 more minute before I share the responses. Okay, I'll close the poll now and I'll share the results with you. And I'd like your comments when you see the results on your screen. Essentially 17%. You should be seeing on your screen very soon. 70% have said it's because of a growing workforce. Another 17% said it's for to manage the mobile learning workforce. But 67%, that's almost 2 out of 3, actually 2 out of 3, have said high usage of mobile devices. And that is where it's quite interesting, and we kind of segue to the previous point that I made, is that mobile can supplement your learning infrastructure, but can also essentially allow you to leapfrog in reaching learners who are traditionally difficult to reach or don't have time via the PC infrastructure. So you can see, and the next slide I'm going to share with you talks about the use of mobile devices. This is a graph from Business Insider, which will come up on your screen very soon in a second. Is essentially what it shows is that the number, and you can see that on the screen now, the number of personal computers is kind of stagnated, and it's plateaued. In fact, people are saying that the number of PCs sold are going to decrease. But if you see the blue and the orange, areas which is boost for the smartphones. And for tablets, you will see that by 2014, the explosion in numbers has been tremendous, and that increase will keep on accelerating till by 2016. You can see that the total number of personal computers is probably going to be about maybe 1/5 of the total number of devices. What's also happening along the journey is that our smartphones or tablets have actually become smarter, which means they've become more powerful, more portable, and in many cases, I mean, personally, I've got a smartphone, 2 tablets and 1 PC, and essentially PC, I just use a PC to do some really heavy grunt work, which includes video editing, etc. But I've also started doing some video editing on my iPhone. So it's just amazing the power of these devices is increasing. So essentially what's happening is that what you will see is our infrastructure or technology infrastructure in organizations is going to skew towards tablets and smartphones, right? There are organizations with, especially for example, with the launch of Windows 8 and the new tablets, it allows you to work on Word documents quite easily, right? So I'm just wondering, Dean and Ujjwal, Dean, what's your own usage of mobile devices?
Sorry, Deepan, what was the question was about the percentage?
Yeah, your own personal preferences for the use of mobile devices for work and play. How many?
Yeah, look, certainly, yeah, with our customers, which are generally healthcare professionals, it's a supplementary device, so it's used in addition to their desktop, particularly with some groups who are highly mobile, like specialist groups. The mobile device becomes the device of preference. And what we found from our research was just an interesting, I think, anomaly in the healthcare market, and maybe it's because doctors are a little bit more well-funded, is that they are predominantly iPad and iPhone users rather than Android users, so they're a little bit different to the general consumer market. But we've almost got, we'd be reaching now 95 to 100% penetration with our customer base of smartphones, particularly.
No, thanks, Ujjwal. What about your own preferences for use of device?
I personally use an Android right now, but on my because my whole work is centered around phones, I play around with a lot of devices during my work day, and so majority of my time has been spent on Android. But these days I've seen a lot of we've been working a lot on Windows, on different versions of Windows, or I mean in terms of resolution, it could be a phone, it could be a tablet. But yeah, I think it's really gone high compared to and things once I'm back home also, I'm not very much on my laptop as much as I'm on my phone. Use it for even your internet usage, or has been always has moved on to the phones. This information getting that.
No, excellent. Thank you very much for that, Ujjwal. And look, I've just posted a question on the chat box asking you how many devices you use. So, with the highest number we've got, I think, was 5 devices. I personally use 4. So it'll be interesting to find out from the audience how many devices do you use. So do you use a chat box to give the responses? Let us know how many devices you have or you use. Another graph from the IDC showing essentially that our region, which is Asia Pacific, Australia and Asia included, is going to. You can see the graph. It's got the steepest climb of the use of the mobile worker population, right? So these are people who will be on the move, contingent workforce, working from home, etc. And you can see that our region is particularly more skewed towards the usage of mobile, especially also because especially in some Asian countries the I guess a PC technology infrastructure is still not very well set up. So our region is particularly a good one for mobile learning and performance support. I've got some feedback. Peter uses 2, a laptop and a BlackBerry. And Marlo in the office 1 to 3, at home 2. So at office, laptop, desktop, and phone. At home, it's tab and the phone. So there you go. So it's a total of at least 2 devices, which is quite fun. So wouldn't it be wonderful if you could get your learning just not on your PC, but also the same learning on your mobile. And if you've got a doubt, there's plenty of stuff on YouTube, for example. You can go and So essentially the same concept of providing information just in time, just there. So the mobile learning in the next slide shows that can not only make it more accessible, but it also helps extend the effectiveness of learning, because it allows you to touch your learners before and after the classroom and even during the classroom, right? So you can reinforce some key messages. So it's just not the fact that it's convenient, but also it actually increases the effectiveness of learning by reinforcing certain key points. So let's talk about just a very quick poll while I talk about the next slide. The poll that I am sending across is about the 3 key challenges that you think are involved in implementing mobile learning. So responses have started to come in, and we'll just because we get some really interesting results from this poll. So we'll see after I've got some responses. But essentially, while that is happening, just wait for another minute before we close. There are 6 key decision areas that you need to focus on while you are looking to deploy mobile learning, right? So let me just close the poll and have a look at the results. Okay, so I'm going to share that, and please also. Okay, so essentially, right. So what's the results were? There you go. Coming online. So 67% is technology concerns, and I think this is a really good concern. And so I think Dean and Ujjwal will talk about these technology concerns. We obviously have the management buy-in as a concern for everything that's new. That's fine. Content availability for mobile, and that's really interesting because only yesterday I was talking to Ujjwal that using my iPhone, you took a video about the correct procedure for washing hands. So I placed my iPhone in a bathroom and shot the whole video, and then basically using some readily available software, added some titles, etc. to that, and it became a little learning module on the right process to hygienically clean your hands. So content availability is not also maybe such a big issue as people might think to be, but business case and strategy spot on the concerns there. What I'm really interested to see is that the 33% said user adoption. So it's almost like it's the least of the concerns, and I think that's very valid that just everybody who works does have familiarity with the technology. That's fantastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm very quickly going to now outline the 6 key decisions that you need to consider, and then pass on the mic to Dean. And within these case studies that Dean and Ujjwal will talk about, you will see that some of these key decision areas have been identified. So number 1 is the need for mobile learning. So as you've pointed out in the poll, the right business case and also the right user case, basically the right reason to use mobile learning, right? If you just put in mobile learning and expect people to turn up and use it, sometimes, well, most of the time doesn't succeed. It really should be a compelling reason and a good reason to use. We also have just kind of making sure that you know your target audience, also identifying the devices and platform to support in your audience, in your IT infrastructure, really important because there are lots of different variations. Deciding on the technology architecture, also the production of content, deciding exactly which content you want to place, because you really don't want to be doing a 1-hour online course on your mobile phone, right? You might want to do a 5-minute or a 10-minute course followed by a quiz, followed by a small video, etc. And finally, there's also security concerns, which we will address in this slide. So would love to hear your opinions about any other areas, your experiences with deploying mobile or exploring to deploy mobile. But with that, I'm going to actually pass on the mic to Dean. So Dean, over to you, and to hear your wonderful stories about what you've done with mobile learning performance support in healthcare.
Great, thanks so much, Jeevan. Oh, excuse me. I suppose if we just jump to the first slide, we'd like to jump onto that next one. Excellent, thank you. I suppose before we start with this particular slide, I suppose when we're thinking about building or implementing content or programs for clients, Firstly, as Jeevan said, we assume the client understands the need or has a well-defined need. But rather than thinking about what devices are they using or how do they want to deliver it, we really start with the customer, and we use this concept called CCDD, which is thinking about the customer, the content first, then the device, and then the best delivery platform. So I'd just like to run you through sort of each of these pillars or columns of our CCDD concept. So obviously we want to start with the customer, and when we think about customer, that's the user. So who will be using the e-learning content? Are they an internal stakeholder, are they an internal user, or are they an external user? Internal users for us, we have a little bit more control over them. We can train them on how to use the device, train them on how to use the content. And these tend to be for us pharmaceutical sales teams or customer service teams, or sometimes they're support functions like manufacturing, where we may want to get some simple compliance information or training out to them. Our next block is we're also building content for external customers. For us, I'll talk a little bit about that later in the case studies, but they might be pharmacists who are buyers of product. They may be sellers who are, again, maybe creating content for people to on-sell product. They may be educators like doctors, or again, they might be customer service personnel. So we like to think about those two different groups when we begin thinking about the customer and what they might need. We also consider the environment that they'll be receiving the information in. What is their workplace? Are they on the road, or are they in a fixed office? What is their level of experience? And that's both with the content and with the technology. We consider their level of education, and that also feeds into more the content we're providing. And we also consider demographics. If we were providing information to perhaps a 70-year-old man where we wanted to talk about hip fracture, perhaps he's not someone who's got a myriad of Apple devices available. So we might think about what is the best device to deliver for them. But firstly, we take a customer-centric view and think about the customer. Then we move on to think about the content, which again is driven by the customer. We want to think about the complexity of the content, and obviously if you're delivering something to a specialist physician, the content can be much more complex. But if you want to deliver a simple message to a patient with no understanding of an area or a disease, then we want to be less complex. Duration is important. Again, that speaks a little bit to where are they doing this? If they're doing it on the run, then we want something that's going to be something perhaps that a pharmacy assistant is doing in the bus on the way to work. It's going to be a 2-minute piece of content. But perhaps if it was someone who's really sitting down and spending a half an hour doing a course, we just need to think about the right duration. Also frequency, and I think as e-learning advocates as we are, and perhaps the audience is, we can be very tempted to put out content very frequently, and we can overwhelm people, particularly if they're long duration and frequent pieces of content. So we just need to balance those. We also think about the tone. Sometimes we want a really sort of gamified, fun piece of content. Sometimes they're very serious because we're talking to someone about their illness. So we need to consider the right tone of our content. And we also want to consider whether we want to collect feedback. And in most cases of e-learning, it's not just a presentation, it's an interactive two-way street. So I would say in 90% of cases we're seeking to collect some sort of feedback from our users, from our customers. Once again, we think about the learning environment. Where are they going to be doing this learning? In the mobile environment, we really need to be cognizant that it can be on the bus or waiting for waiting for an appointment. We need to think about the available time that they have to complete the piece of content. Again, experience, education, and demographics. Already we've spoken a lot about the device platforms, and our whole e-learning world really has been expanded immensely because we're not just waiting for someone to sit down at their computer, and we also need to think about those people, as Jeevan was saying, who simply don't have computers. And we find a lot of for example, our pharmacy staff don't have access at least to a work computer, so that device is off the table. So it's not until we've thought about the customer, the type of content we want to deliver that we then think about the device, and we match the device to the customer and the content. And again, we're seeing a substantial increase, certainly in tablet use, because there's a lot of screen space to use there for e-learning, but in simpler, short duration e-learning concepts, then the smartphone is wonderful. And then the laptop and the desktop that we're all familiar with.
Just a question. Have you come across user cases or case studies, or do you foresee that, especially the mobile workforce or the sales force might entirely dispense with PCs and simply use tablets as their only device of computing, learning, communicating?
Yes, look, the evolution that we've seen is our customer sales force as being laptop-driven, moving to a laptop and an iPad as a presentation device, as a selling tool, and increasingly they're moving to tablet only for cost saving and simply for managing a number of devices. So we're seeing the evolution to where many companies, or the more progressive companies, are moving purely to tablet and to a smartphone. So yes, we've seen that evolution quite strongly.
And also, I think just from experience as well, you can jump into, is that sometimes it's actually easier to set up an IT infrastructure based on tablets than it is with PCs. It's quicker, faster. Ujjwal, any views on that?
Well, yeah, it is easier, and with tablets, even you can, as one of the points Dean made, that when you're targeting a video can be larger for the tablets because you've got most, and plus in terms of resolution also. You can, you've got more place to view it than, or maybe your attention span on a phone is less than maybe on a tablet, so you're much more, it's got a wider screen. That's what I've been experiencing in my, in the projects that we've done so far. Yeah.
Thanks, Dean, over to you.
Good. Yeah, so just back to the final D in the CCDD is, again, once we've been through these first three steps, then we think about what delivery platform is most effective for the for our client. And I suppose from a customer facing, so what does the user see? Responsive web, again, which Jeevan has spoken about, can be excellent. It can be rapidly deployed, extremely effective, particularly where you've got devices that are always online. We also use web apps, where essentially we're creating a web-like interface that is cached to the device, and that can be very effective where you want to keep perhaps iTunes and Google Play out of the mix. In some instances, we have clients who have very specific learning needs and they want to create a custom app that meets a specific need. We would generally drive them towards using a platform app because it's more flexible and cost-effective for them. Like the Upside to Go app, which essentially holds your content in the mobile environment. And I'm also just going to touch base because we spend a lot of time doing interactive SMS, so we're sort of talking about high-end content here, or more rich content, but you shouldn't forget that the text messages are a highly effective mobile e-learning tool, particularly in environments where perhaps connectivity is not great, or where the user base doesn't have smartphones. And I would say our market has evolved away from that somewhat, but there's a lot of markets where not just one-way SMS, but interactive response-captured SMS is a very valuable and an impactful form of e-learning. So I didn't want to leave that. And then from the admin side, when we're thinking about the platform, our companies want to be able to manage content, manage users, so in an LMS or learning management system, they want to manage which users have which access, and then the content. They maybe want to author content within their system or draw in other content from other systems. So we need to be cognizant that we or our clients have the capacity to manage the content that they're putting out to their customers. So again, my key message here is really think about the customer first, don't get too carried away with the technology. So I want to spend the last few moments looking at some specific case studies that I hope have some relevance in your markets. So we're going to look at a pharmaceutical company and what sort of M-learning they might do. So they might be using their e-learning or M-learning platforms to share or upskill their sales force as far as product knowledge. They may also, if we just jump to the next one, They may want to teach their pharmacy sales force selling skills. They may need to teach their customer service team about how to manage drug interactions. They want to train their customers, being pharmacy assistants, on product knowledge so they can recommend the product. They may want to train pharmacists on product and professional knowledge, best practice in managing a pharmacy. And they may want to share clinical knowledge or clinical experience with doctors. So I'm just going to quickly look at 3 of these. Again, we'll just jump to that next slide. So the 3 I want to look at are training a GP sales force, so an internal customer, training an external seller, being a pharmacy assistant, and looking at sort of a bit of a combination where we're using knowledge, all the tools that. So the first one to think about is the GP sales force. So for us, this is you're training, or this is sales enablement, and it crosses across, I think, multiple industry areas. That these are an internal customer, so we can train them on how to use our content and our platform. So we've sort of got a bit of a captured audience. They tend to be quite well educated, so our level of content can be fairly in depth, but they're a very broad demographic. So we find we have to meet a middle ground as far as something that's everyone is comfortable with. The content we generally deploying to these people is product knowledge, so knowing their product so they're informed in front of their customer, but also skills, selling skills, how to sell better, those sort of things. The platform that that is generally used, these people often have all 3 devices. They're quite well equipped, and they want to be able to access the same content at any time. So they might be in their car on their iPad, they might be waiting for a doctor on their iPhone, or they may be at home working on their laptop. So we would recommend a cross-platform solution. And the delivery is generally through a content management system because it's changing frequently. Medical information can change, or new updates need to be supplied quickly. So they need a method to deliver that information very quickly. It's not fixed information over long periods. So that's a quick case study of how we might approach a sales force. If we just move on to the next bubble, guys.
Before I do that, which I will, I've just got some feedback from Marlo about whose company is into retail, and the question I asked was whether it is appropriate for retail, and Marlo's come back and said yes. Since our organization is spread geography across the whole of Philippines, which means that it's a distributed workforce, and Peter from CSIRO has kind of indicated that staff, even though they're kind of, I guess, in research lab and buildings, do have easy access to PCs. Some use tablets, but not so much, but only as secondary to PCs. So I think that's quite important, isn't it? That if there is a PC around and easily available, mobile learning may not be there's no reason to use mobile learning as this.
Yeah. Look, just as a counterpoint to that, I suppose we see our specialist customers, which are specialist physicians and sometimes researchers, prefer to use their desktop, but they are also highly mobile. They're out at research sites, or they're moving from consulting room to consulting room. So we see them, they have a preference for desktop, but they're almost forced into using their iPad because of their mobility. But they're not mobile like a sales force. They're mobile between 3 or 4 fixed locations. So just by way of feedback. Now, another group that I'd like to explore is really the sales force have their product knowledge, but they also have presentation tools that they're presenting information, maybe capturing information from doctors. And I've coined the phrase the controlled iPad. They're actually not giving the mobile e-learning or the mobile learning to the doctor. They're controlling it themselves, but still the doctor's providing input. So we still need to think that they're an external customer. So the content we're creating needs to be created in such a way that there's no training required to understand it. They're a highly educated user group, and again a fairly broad demographic. We would say 35 plus, but in reality it's probably 25 plus for some new GPs. The content tends to be extremely technical. But it also needs to meet their needs, so it can't be, let's say, linear. It needs to be flexible, where they can jump and learn about efficacy or safety if they wish. As I said, this is generally a controlled environment where the representative is controlling the flow. And again, this information needs to be highly flexible as far as managing the content, changing the content, providing updates to keep the most relevant information. So again, we would always recommend a content management system for the client. So just giving you an idea, I suppose, a professional, highly technical, external customer and what sort of platforms we consider. And the last one I want to talk about is pharmacy assistants. We have a lot of fun with these guys because they tend to be, even if they're not a younger demographic, they tend to be quite team-orientated. They're retail sales, so they're people who are like to be engaged with their product, but not in a very didactic way. So again, they're an external customer. They're generally looking at our content without any support from a representative. They're generally working on site, so they don't have a lot of time to be jumping onto e-learning, or so mobile learning is excellent for them. They can look at this in their downtime, etc. They tend to be around they can be very young, from 16, tend to be younger women. So again, they're external customer. They're an external customer without any guidance from someone showing them how to use the the content or the device. The content we're generally deploying to these people is product-based, but also skills-based. And increasingly, we're trying to gamify or make the content fun. So they come back to it, and they tend to be doing shorter mobile learning modules, but more frequently. So maybe 5 minutes once a week, rather than half an hour once a month. The delivery platforms, we can deploy web apps, but increasingly this is sort of a native or mobile app. These people are very smartphone focused, hence why we would recommend a smartphone device. With the right content tailored to them, they can be highly engaged with their mobile learning. So out of the three groups I've just spoken about, this group, for example, which was the pharmacy assistant, is essentially a knowledgeable retail assistant, has, I think, perhaps the most potential in the true mobile learning smartphone environment. So I think that probably relates to a lot of different markets.
So Dean, can I just ask a question just in terms of the pharmacy assistants? Who pays for their usage of mobile data?
Yeah, well,
or is it
generally, generally it's a bring your own device. So they're using their own device and chewing up their own 3G or 4G. We see very little reluctance. In fact, we see no reluctance to doing that, because they're on their smartphones constantly. So another form of content or an app. In the Australian market, there's very little resistance. Now, having said that, we have had in the past resistance to answering too many text messages where their plan is costing them, say, 25 cents a message. They have no such reluctance when they're using their data allowance.
Absolutely. Maybe use WhatsApp instead of SMS messages might be an option.
That's true. Yeah, true. There are some issues there though when you're looking at interactive SMS messaging.
No problem.
Well, be,
thank you. Thank you very much for that, Dean. And look, if you've got any questions for Dean and also the case studies that Dean has mentioned, please just send them through the QA panel, and we'll answer them. Now I'm going to hand it over to Ujjwal. Ujjwal, over to you and for your stories.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jeevan, and thanks, Dean, for the insight. I'm just concentrating on one part of Dean's presentation, which was on sales skills. And over the last 1 or 2 years, what we've been seeing with our product Upside to Go and its usage is majority of our customers are looking at it as a sales enablement or a performance support tool. And I was going through different sales enablement is, unlike accounts or finance or marketing, is to different organizations it means different things. But in light of today's webinar, I feel that this is the best definition of what does sales enablement mean. It means that you're getting right information into the hands of the right sellers at the right time and place. But if for us, because we're targeting mobiles, the right format is also very important. You don't want a video that is like, say, about an hour long, but you would like maybe a snippet of videos showing you on your mobile, or it could be a mobile phone or an iPad, but you could just want snippets. And so this definition has been around for a while. And Jeevan, if you could just move to the
Sure.
next slide. The case that I'm taking in point is about a company called Jangro, which is based in UK. It's a cleaning supply company that creates different types of cleaning products. They are into the third year of usage of Upside to Go for their dealership network. And like retail, they keep coming out of all the logistics matters. They've been, in terms of training their dealers on products or updating their sales force as to what a product, which product has been launched, what safety document is available, what safety needs to be followed, what are the risks of using that product. For that training, they have been using Upside to Go. And so what used to happen earlier when they did not have a mobile, or for that matter, even they didn't have a, they've also gone in for a unified solution, which means that they've gone in for a learning management system, which is going to be working on the desktop, whereas people who want to be more mobile, they can be using the mobile app itself. So what used to happen is that the dealers, there was a lag between a product launch and a dealer not knowing, what is what the product meant, what its capabilities were, and the customer used to approach them, during which point the dealer had very less knowledge about the product. So that's where the mobile aspect became more useful. That if you could just hit the next slide, Steven, so that I could just show that. What used to happen is there used to be a lot of questionnaires around the product, and the dealer used to be, we didn't have a very engaging interaction with the customer. With the enablement with mobile, the dealer could even show a video of how a product is being used, in addition to showing what are the risks, what are the price factors, and that would translate into revenue for them. This is one aspect, but this was while it was training the dealer subtly, it also translated into what was revenue for the company. A second aspect, what Jangro had done was each of the products had a QR code on it. So in case a learner or a customer just saw it and had a QR code reader via the app, they would just be able to go in and also see more information post the meeting. So in this whole scenario, what we noticed was, could you just move to the next slide, please?
Sure. Which is while you're doing that, I mean, you talked about sales
Right.
enablement, but essentially it's kind of supplying, information to the
On the
person
go,
who's
kind of,
talking. Yeah, on the go,
yeah.
isn't it? It could be the same with, I guess, in the retail space for employees on the shop floor about, maybe a new product that's been launched. I don't know, maybe
Yeah, I think
some ties.
that's correct. Yeah, at the retail flow, even we've implemented this at a logistic level at for a company in US, and wherein they are into the cargo business. So to train the people who are on the floor who have handheld devices, it was more useful for them.
Okay, no worries.
And so in this whole example, what we've seen was getting the right information. So that was about the product, what was the pricing, how much, getting it to them on time, so that even if you're in a discussion, a case in point where in a medical, we were actually working with a prospect who were into the medical field, making equipments for like dentist, tools for dentists and all. Now, in that sector, whenever a new product would come, they would then associate collaterals related to that product, like there would be a video of how to use it. So doctors could actually refer to use it, and training of the doctors became easier using the videos, the PDFs, a course centering along it, and even taking a quiz on that, so that there was retention. And in this case of Jangro, the right format also was very important for us, because videos, we had kept them down to about 4 minutes, 5 minutes each. The documents were in PDF format, so they could get a set of, because we were targeting a lot different platforms. We were looking at Android devices, we were looking at iPhones, we also looked at BlackBerry at that point of time, and so this was how mobile actually helped solve getting information about products and training the dealers. Why I also chose sales enablement was, though Upside to Go was launched like a learning platform, which it still does, more and more usage has been around a performance support kind of application. So we see it as on the go. You just need to know something about, you're going to make a presentation, you may want to know something about the product, go and just have a look on the mobile front. Right? So any questions around that? Just feel free to use the
any
chat.
questions from the audience, please send it through, and while the audience is hopefully having some questions for us, hopefully, otherwise we'll just assume that you've beautifully explained what's required. I might actually just ask some questions.
I just have one point there.
Sure.
Regarding an earlier poll which we had, the technology concerns, right? So wherein 67% or even the content for availability, and I was trying to relate this to the 75% who are not initiating a mobile learning. It could be because of these factors, or it is definitely overwhelming initially, but the mobile space is easy to go if you have a strategy in place. And that's where we've been working with customers to get that in line, that how do you want to go about it. I mean, like the CCDD approach, that's a good way to, go about it, so that you understand the requirements first, and then you center your content around it, and then go on to the devices that you would like to target.
Okay, thanks for that, Vijay. So let's ask a question around how to start, right? So we've got bulk of the participants kind of said that still early stages, still planning, or not even planning. So I guess Dean, question for you is that how do typically organizations make a start? Do they make a big structured conscious decision, or it just starts as a small project and organically goes from there? Dean, over to you.
Yeah, for us, most of our clients have a training department or training function, and they've been using traditional hard copy or PowerPoint, and they're aware of new technology, so they're generally starting with taking their existing content and converting that into something that's more usable by the sales force. And that normally starts from, say, printed learning to the first steps of e-learning being, say, PowerPoint, then into e-learning for desktop, and then depending on the client, and most of our clients have mobile workforces, it then evolves into mobile learning. So that's sort of the pathway people are taking. So content is existing, they're just looking at new and more efficient ways to deliver that content. Is that helpful?
What about, yep, no, that's good. Thanks, Ujjwal.
Yeah, could you just repeat it for a second?
Sure. The question is around how do organizations make a start and typically make a start in mobile learning?
Well, the best way I've seen is they start evolving with the strategy wherein apart from they go around, okay, we don't have content, we've got this video set, we've got courses in Flash which need to be converted. Now, that's one way of starting. Some of them directly look at it from a point of view of getting the devices or platforms in place and then working around it, because in case it's a management decision and they're going to roll out iPads to everybody, then there's no point in targeting phones, because the resolutions of an iPad would be bigger than the phones itself. So that's one way of also going about it, and that's what I've seen.
Thank you. What are the, Ujjwal, from your point of view, what are the two most common failures or challenges that?
A failure is to keep interest in it once it's launched also. What happens is once you've launched it and then the app is not working, or people, the ease of use of the app is one thing which is important, because otherwise it's just another app that's going to be there like any other system. Secondly, how you push content and how you keep that application alive. It could be interesting content, like gamification is one way of going about it. A second way is keeping on making modifications even at the UI level of the application, not as an instantaneous thing, but over a period of time. Even the apps that we've been using, if you see any of the popular apps out there, they keep refreshing or coming up with new things, just stir the pot once in a while, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good, Dean, just in terms of keeping the audience interested, I guess, as long as the platform's working okay, but if there is new relevant, content that's being pushed through, that might keep the interest. But honestly, I mean, if there is no need, then there is no need to go back to, the mobile platform to see. It's only when you really need to use it.
Yeah. So even if I could just add a comment in there.
Sure.
What we find is, and this is more about content than about the platform, is that the content has to have a degree. Firstly, you can use your platform to pump out different types of content. So it may not all be sales skills or product knowledge. You may want to have some fun activities. So it's about texture of the content, not making it all exactly the same. So create some texture, create some interaction and involvement. Sometimes it's more a survey. You want to know that your sales team, are you happy with the current incentive program? So the e-learning platform or mobile learning platform can actually be redeployed across multiple departments. So it's not just a sales tool, not just a marketing tool. It could be a human resource tool. So I would say whatever platform or devices you're using, optimize what you're doing with them. Maybe share costs again across multiple departments, and have some fun with it. Everyone wants to have fun, in their learning.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, because I've seen one of the places where we've implemented this. They've used it as a SWOT analysis for a core group, and that was a lot of fun, because they could show a product and then given your information, each of the users would then quickly write down their strengths, weaknesses, what they thought about it. But it was done in a very fun environment kind of thing, So by the end of though it was serious work, by the end of that whole day's meeting, they were out with what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses of that particular product, but in a very fun manner.
Thanks for that, Ujjwal. I think we're pretty much at the end of our session. Don't want to hold people off for long. There are no more questions from the audience. So hopefully, between the questions we've asked and the content, we've added some value. And look, if there's anything that we can help you with in terms of information about products, or even if you just want to bounce off some ideas, with us. Myself, Dean, and Ujjwal will be, more than happy to, get in touch with you. We will be getting in touch with you as a courtesy call just to check if there's anything else we can do for you. But thank you again for attending the webinar. I certainly, we certainly enjoyed it, and hopefully you enjoyed it too. So thanks everyone, and have a lovely day, rest of the day. And to disconnect, all you need to do is just close the application.